All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about the world of hypersonic flight. We're talking speeds that are just mind-bending, completely redefining aerospace engineering. Now, this is a super exclusive club, right? Not many members. But a new nation is right on the edge of joining, and that nation is Brazil. So today, we are breaking down their incredible, ambitious journey to master this technology, the 14H project.
But this isn't just about building a faster plane. Nope. At the very heart of this massive engineering puzzle is a really powerful national vision to achieve what they call technological sovereignty. It's all about forging a new role for Brazil on the world stage.
So, first up, Brazil's hypersonic ambition. We're going to dig into the why behind this whole thing. What's really driving a project of this scale? Well, see, this project isn't happening in a vacuum. It is a cornerstone of Brazil's entire strategic defense plan. The goal is crystal clear. By 2030, the country wants to be a major military power with total autonomy in its defense sector. And that means building a strong, homegrown defense industry and really cementing its reputation as a leader in aerospace. The 14X, it's a huge piece of that puzzle.
And listen, a project this ambitious doesn't just pop up overnight. This has been a long road. The initial research kicked off way back in 2007. It took a whole decade before the first experimental results even got published. But then, bam! December 2021, they had their first successful engine test. That was a huge breakthrough, and now things are really picking up speed, with major partnerships announced in 2024, all leading up to the big one, the full-scale launch planned for 2027.
Okay, so that brings us to the technology itself. What is the actual vehicle at the center of all this ambition? Let's get into the hardware.
So meet the star of the show, the 14X hypersonic vehicle. And that name? It's a really cool tribute to the 14 bis, one of the very first aircraft, flown by the legendary Brazilian aviation pioneer Alberto Santos Dumont. This modern successor, though, is a hypersonic glide vehicle, built to tear through the Earth's atmosphere at unbelievable speeds.
So what powers this thing? A scramjet. It's short for supersonic combustion ramjet. Now, unlike a regular jet engine, a scramjet has almost no moving parts. Its real genius is that it uses its own insane forward speed to cram air in for combustion, and the combustion itself happens at supersonic speeds. But here's the catch. It only works once you're already moving at hypersonic speeds.
So how do you get it going that fast in the first place? Well, you need a ride, a really fast ride. And that ride is the RATO 14X rocket. This thing is a beast, 14 meters tall, 15 tons, and it's designed to do just one job: haul the 14X vehicle up to 30 kilometers high at speeds over Mach 8.
Let's just walk through how these two pieces work together. It's like a high-speed ballet. First, the RATO 14X rocket launches. It boosts the payload up to that target altitude and speed. Then, at just the right moment, the 14X vehicle separates. And only then, once it's in those perfect conditions, does its own scramjet engine roar to life, kicking off its autonomous hypersonic flight.
Okay, so we've seen the hardware, but that brings us to the real core challenge here. I mean, just how hard is this, really? Well, the engineers have a nickname for the problem they're trying to solve. They call it keeping a candle in a hurricane. Let's talk about what that means.
I mean, just think about that for a second. The whole idea of a scramjet depends on keeping a stable flame going while air is screaming through the engine at thousands and thousands of miles an hour. How is that even possible?
The project manager for the 14X, Lieutenant Colonel Lucas Gallenbeck, he just put it perfectly. He said, "It's like keeping a candle lit inside of a hurricane." That one sentence just perfectly captures the violent, chaotic, almost impossible physics that these engineers are trying to control.
Now this is incredible. With this slide, you're literally seeing the hurricane. This is a Schlieren photograph from a wind tunnel test. It's the special imaging technique that lets you see invisible changes in air density. And those lines? Those are the intense shockwaves forming over the 14X model. That is the extreme environment that they have to master.
And this journey from an idea to reality is just amazing to see. On one side, you've got this sleek, artistic concept of the vehicle, and on the other, you have a computational fluid dynamics simulation showing the brutal reality of the airflow and pressure it has to survive. And bridging that gap between the beautiful vision and that violent reality, that's the whole challenge.
So, the big question is, how did Brazil tackle this hurricane problem?
Well, the most important thing to know is they didn't do it alone. They used a very specific strategy to make it happen.
They're using what's known as the triple helix model. It's this really powerful way to innovate where the government, the universities, and private companies don't just work separately, but they collaborate closely, weaving their strengths together to take on these massive challenges.
And here's what that actually looks like in practice. You've got the government, right? The Brazilian Air Force and its tech department. They provide the money and the big picture strategy. Then you have academia, specifically the Institute for Advanced Studies, doing the deep dive research and development. And finally, you bring in industry, companies like MacG and Orbital Engineeria, to actually build the stuff, the rockets, the engines, all of it. Every single strand of that helix is absolutely essential.
All right, so let's zoom back out. We've seen the tech, we've seen the strategy, but what does mastering all this stuff actually mean for Brazil and its place in the world?
First off, this is a huge national priority, and it's backed by serious cash. The project got a record-breaking subsidy of 117 million Brazilian reais from the country's main innovation agency. You know, an investment of that size really tells you just how high the stakes are for them.
And here is the payoff they're looking for. For defense, it means complete autonomy in a truly game-changing technology. Commercially, it could give Brazil the power to launch its own satellites. For the economy, it opens the door to high-tech defense exports. And finally, of course, there's the prestige. Just joining that tiny, exclusive club of nations that have conquered hypersonic flight.
So, as the 14X project barrels towards its 2027 launch date, the question it raises is a pretty big one. It's not just about a single vehicle, is it? It's about national ambition, it's about smart collaboration, and it's about mastering some of the most extreme physics imaginable. We could very well be watching the dawn of a brand new aerospace power.